Oh, hello there. I was just on the internet. And you know, when I'm not having unnecessary haircuts or just enjoying myself on the World Wide Web.net, well, I like to play board games. You know what? It's been a bit tough to play board games in 2020. So, what have we been doing? We've been playing digital board games. Now, I did a little tutorial earlier in the year talking about how to play Tabletop Simulator and giving you some intro information for that. Today I'm going to take you through some of the stuff in Tabletopia, how to use that. And the reason I'm doing that today, here and now, this is a bit in my face, isn't it? The reason I'm doing that today, here and now, is the fact that this week is completely free. You can play all the premium games from today up to next Wednesday by just entering this little old code into the website. Because it's all shucks this weekend. That's quite exciting. So there's a ton of games on here, all supported by publishers. Oh, look, it's us. It seems really weird to have details about worm stuff being written about on another website when it was just nonsense that came out of it. Shouldn't exist. Anyway, to get involved, you've just got to sign up for an account and you can link it to Facebook, Twitter, Steam, whatever, or just create a fresh one. An important thing is that you can play Tabletopia on a whole bunch of different places. They've got some games available on phone, but mostly it's a choice between either playing through Steam or playing through the browser. And here's a tip from me. Playing through a browser is usually better. I'm usually the person who's a big nerd and goes, I'm going to download the program on Steam. But actually, games tend to work better and be more reliable in the browser. Who could have thunked it? Go figure. Once you've signed up for an account and found a game you're going to play, just load up the page and make sure you set it up right. Now, some key stuff here. Play solo is pretty self-explanatory. Play hot seat simply means that all of the players are going to play using the same seat. And it's called a hot seat because if everybody sits on your lap, then it's going to be really quite spicy. However, if you're playing online, it's quite easy. It's important to note that often when you're doing this, there's going to be some setup options here. So here we are, 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, 5 players. It's important to make sure that the number of people you're going to play with is what you selected here. Not only because it means you can invite people into vacant seats and give them a code or give them a link to the room and they can come and join, but also because a lot of these games are actually going to be pre-set up when you go into them, which means if you do the wrong player count, well, you've played a board game. You know how that works. Once you've loaded into the game, your actual options and menus become very limited. You can control the audio levels of the plinky plunk. You can look up some general rules about how to use Tabletopia, and also you can look up the rules of the game, which will just pop up like a big PDF. When it comes to actually controlling stuff within the game, it's all pretty simple with the mouse and keyboard. If you hold down the main mouse button, you can literally just drag yourself across the table like you would in real life, just knocking over the pieces, etc. If you use the other mouse button, the forbidden right-click button, then you can just rotate the camera around. Obviously, you can move around using WASD on the keyboard, WASD if you like me, you are a pro gamer. Finally, you've got the little mouse wheel which allows you to zoom in and out, which would be the equivalent of just dipping your head very close to the table, which I've really missed doing in a real life setting. However, I do love the fact that you can hold down Z to have a little cool crash zoom. Vroom, vroom. Bird, enhance. Vroom, vroom. Bird, another bird enhance. Vroom. Yeah, I might have to fade away from this bit and you catch up with me later. Bird, enhance. Vroom, vroom. Now, something about Tabletopia I should have cleared up at the very start is that you do need to know the rules of the game. You can't just jump into it and have it guide you through and stop you from doing things that you're not allowed to. I'm afraid you have to learn the rules, and that's a standard thing. However, there is some automation within stuff. So you see the games are already set up and ready to go. And for example, we here have a discard pile, which means when cards are placed into them, they'll automatically flip. So it's going to do some of the stuff for you, but it isn't going to hold your hand and take you for a walk and promise that everything's going to be okay. Doing some of this basic stuff, super simple. Dragging cards is just clicking and dragging. If you want to flip a card over, it's just F on the keyboard, which will just flip the card to the other side. If you want to keep a card secret, you can pull it down into your hand by just dragging it to the very bottom of the screen, and at that point letting go of it, and it will sit here invisible to everybody else. And if these things are getting in the way and you don't want them to be there, you can just press H and they will hide down, popping down to the bottom. H again to bring it back. And if you want the opposite, you want to make it bigger, you hold down spacebar and it's going to make it nice and full screen so you can read the words with your eyes. Obviously, dragging cards and placing them down again, easy peasy. And finally, the other thing you can do to manipulate stuff is using Q and E to rotate cards. And that's always going to do stuff rotation by the correct amount for what it is. So if it's a hex, it'll probably rotate in sixes, I think, eights, I don't remember, but the correct amount. Cards, 90 degrees. And you can hold down Control and then click and drag normally, and that's going to spin a card around in a pleasing way. But obviously, in this circumstance, it's locking where it should, because this is a mod that's been really quite nicely made. Now there's a final couple of fiddly things here to do with the placement of cards I'm just going to go into. First of all, it's very useful to know that at any point you can just tap U on the keyboard to put that underneath the thing it's on top of, which is mainly useful for when you're just laying stuff out on the table and trying to get a sense of things and get them under control. The other thing, of course, is how stacking works. If I drag this and hold it over, in this circumstance, you can see very clearly that the card underneath just turns a nice hot orange. And you know at that point you can let go and it's going to treat it as a stack. And the same is true for if you want to put a card at the bottom of a stack. You just hover it over, hold down Shift, and you can see there a little icon appears indicating that this card is going to be put on the bottom of the deck. And lo and behold, there's our spotted sandpiper exactly where we left them. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the nature of bags, first of all, which are very simple. You literally just drag stuff in and out of bags. You can put whatever you want it in a bag, just like in real life, except not like in real life. These bags are infinite and large, and you should never stare directly into them. And then finally, dice. Now, when you're using dice, there's a couple of things you can do. First thing you can do, you can hold down R, which will roll or randomize. R is also going to be used to shuffle decks. Anytime you're going to want to get a random result from something that has a collection of results, be it a dice or a bag or a stack of cards, you just hover over it, press R, and it's going to do a little animation flourish and let you know that it's done that. But maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you're playing a game where you want to just change the numbers on dice, etc., or change the images in a way that isn't random. Well, if you just press F, then rather than flipping it to the other side, it's just going to cycle through all of the potential values. So this would be going from 1 to 6 and then back to 1 again. But obviously this isn't a normal dice. It's a dice what has got mouse and worm on it. And arguably, because of that, it's just straight up better. And finally, you will often notice there are some little hovery bits. If I hover over this, then I can see a little numbers thing. And that just means if I use my mouse wheel, then I can just go up and down to track how many points I've got or whatever it's tracking in the game. These little counters are quite useful and quite neat. And actually, the mouse wheel thing is very neat in the fact that there's a lot of things you can do in this program that require you to right click and then select options. For example, we can right click and lock an item. You'll see here there's a little L button, which means L is for lock. It's pretty useful. If you don't want to move something around, then you can just click L, lock it in place. It won't let you drag it around until you press L again, at which point, whoop-de-doo, you can move it. However, using this little right click to bring up the menu and then select things, it can be a little bit of a pain. It's useful to see what you can do in terms of setting camera views by pressing Shift and 1 and then moving around and pressing 1 to jump between them. That stuff's cool. But the mouse wheel, I find, saves an awful lot of time in this, and the fact that you can just hover over a deck of cards, for example, and then you can just start using the mouse wheel and immediately it'll pop up saying, take 2, 6, 7, take 10. If I click now and drag, well, I did that wrong. If I do that again, click now, take 8, then it's going to pull out 8 cards. And obviously, in this circumstance, it's pulling out 8 cards, actually in a way that fits quite nicely. You wouldn't put them there on the board. That's not how Wingspan is played. However, you can also multiple select lots of things by just clicking Shift, holding down Shift, clicking over things like so, and then you can collect a bunch of things in one selection. Alternatively, you can hold down Shift and draw a big old box like you are the person commanding in the game, commanding and conquering. Hey, I just selected 8 cards. What am I going to do? I'm going to hold them in my hand. I'm going to flip a couple of them over, and then I'm going to hide them. Because I'm the master of Tabletopia now, and I live here. Anyway, that's basically it. Remember, the mouse wheel is your friend. Drag lots of things out of a bag. Drag lots of cards at once. Take 12 of these, thank you. Yes. Drop them on my board straight away. Again, just remember you need to play by the rules. It's not how the game's played. People will not take kindly to this. And that's it. Tabletopia. As I say, it's completely free for the next week. All of the premium stuff for your boots. Have a go. And during Shucks over the next week, there are going to be people such as developers and publishers who are going to be demoing through upcoming unreleased or brand new games. So do head over to rshucks.show, a website which will be springing into life later this weekend. So head there on Friday. And you'll be able to make an appointment to get a demo of a game in Tabletopia and learn how to play a game without reading a manual, which I always think is great. I don't like reading manuals. That's it now. That's the end of the video. I hope that was alright. I hope that was useful. I don't know why I'm whispering now. I'm going to go and be a worm again. Goodbye. Goodbye.